When building Spring MVC applications, it's very common to have our controller invoke different methods on services within our application. Or it's common to have the controller use different beans within the root application context. In this lesson, we're going to look at how to auto-wire services and other beans into our controllers so that they can be used to perform the business logic of our web applications. So let's talk about our objectives for this lesson. If we run the application by right-clicking on the project and then going to run as and run on server, this will start up our server, and eventually we will see the application within our browser window. Once the application starts, we see under the Projects menu option that we have this Find option. And at the moment, it doesn't do anything, but we're going to have this Find option navigate to the projects.jsp page. And the projects.jsp page can be found under Source, Main, Web App, WebInf, Views, right where we've been putting all of the other JSP files. Within this projects.jsp page, you'll notice that we are displaying a table, and it's going to list out all of our projects. So somebody could come into this page, look at the list of all the projects, and eventually be able to select a project they're looking for. Also included within our project is a service, and this service is under the data package, and the service is the project service. This is really just a mock. It's not actually hitting a database or doing any actual persisted logic. But what it does do is it has this find all method, which will return a list of projects that we have created within the constructor of this service. Our goal is to establish this project service as a bean within the root application context. What we can do is in the root application context or the application context.xml file, we can establish this project service as a bean. So we're just going to use the bean tag, give it an ID of project service, and now we need to provide a class. So we're going to go com.infiniteskills.mvc.data.services and project service. Now the project service will be a bean inside the root application context. So this bean will be available to our dispatcher servlet configuration file as well as our controllers. What we will do is navigate to the controller, and within the controller, we're going to create a request mapping for the find URL, and we're going to create a controller method to handle that request. First, I'll start out by creating the find method that returns a string, and we're just going to return projects because that will map to our projects.jsp file. And then we need to add the request mapping to this controller handler method. And the value is going to be find because if we look at our header, we see that the header has been modified to include a URL which navigates to /project/find. So we're trying to handle that request coming in with that URL. Here we have a controller method that will navigate to the projects.jsp file. But what we want to do is we want to call our service bean in order to get all of our projects, and we want to add them to the model so they're available on our view. Normally this would be a service that winds up contacting a database, but we're just contacting our mock service. What we can do is we can use the auto-wired annotation, and you should be familiar with this annotation from using Spring. Spring Core uses auto-wired a lot. And we're going to import the annotation, and then we're going to create a new private field of type project service, and we'll just name it project service. And then within our controller method, we're just going to add an attribute to the model, and we will name this attribute projects. And then we're going to call the project service, and we'll invoke its find all method. So this is going to grab a list of projects, place it into our model under an attribute named projects. And there we see our servers trying to restart to catch up with us. But this is using a service or a bean that was declared within the root application context within one of our controllers by auto-wiring it right into the controller. Now we just have a little bit of work to do within our view. Within the projects.jsp page, we have included the JSTL tag library to provide us with some enhanced mechanisms of displaying our JSP file. We're going to use the JSTL for each tag to iterate through the projects that were placed within the model by our service that we've auto-wired into the controller. To do that, we're just going to go to this table row, and we're going to call the C for each tag, and we need to specify the items that this tag will use. And we're going to reference the projects in the model, so that's that list of projects. And then we need to assign a name for each individual item within that list. So we're going to call each item a project. And now we move our table row into the body of our for each tag. And we need to now specify some JSP-EL to reference the fields on each individual project. So I'm going to call project.name. We'll also use the sponsor, and then finally the description. With our JSP file modified, we're now going to navigate to the Package Explorer. We're going to right-click on the project, go to Run As, and then Run on Server. Just click OK to restart the server. And now we're going to click on that Find link underneath the project menu item, and it's going to invoke our controller method, which uses the auto-wired service, and then places all of those projects in that list into the model. And then our JSP iterates through the list and displays each individual project. In this lesson, we saw how to auto-wire a service or any other bean that is included within our root application context so that we can use it within our controllers.